Ask AJ a question. What are quarks? Are they important? This is definitely out of my depth, but I can tell you a little bit about quarks. They're elementary particles in what's known as the Standard Model. Most of us are pretty familiar with protons, neutrons, electrons, photons. That's kind of a mishmash of ideas from physics that's entered the mainstream of American knowledge. But the Standard Model is actually a collection of particles that make up everything that's known. There's both the particles like quarks that make up matter, and there's a bunch of little particles that have more to do with force. I'm not a mathematician or a physicist, but I can tell you that quarks make up protons and neutrons. They make up quite a lot of other particles, but those particles usually created in extremely high energy conditions like inside stars or in the particle accelerator, those don't last very long. Various quarks mix together to form protons and neutrons, both of which can last for the age of the universe. Quarks are important, but actually most modern science and technology doesn't rely on a direct understanding of quarks, whereas a lot of our current technology definitely relies on understanding photons and electrons. But the hope is someday they probably will be extremely relevant, and not just for particle accelerator physicists. Next question is, what the fuck? How do old residents accept new artists, especially the ones who don't live here? I'm not entirely sure what the context of this question is. I think it's having to do with some local residents who aren't terribly happy with the artwork they might be seeing scattered around the desert, and it's their understanding perhaps that artwork is coming from people who don't live here. I don't have any particular advice on this. If you find yourself being angry about art, you probably should be more angry about other things. All of us have only a certain amount of attention that we can give to anything, and anger is a pretty special kind of attention that is really deserving of injustice and violence. We should really focus our anger on the people, usually in power, who are hurting people who don't have power. And if you find yourself complaining about artists, you're probably some kind of regressive Republican in the making, and you need to spend some time meditating on that. It's true, a lot of out-of-town artists produce crap. Art in general is a machine that pumps out oftentimes visual or sonic content, much of which is not worth listening to or seeing twice. But it's definitely nothing to get angry about. Our third question: how do we control our addictive behaviors? I was raised with an unusual philosophy of psychology based on the work of Stan Grof, who was himself a student of Carl Jung. And the general idea in that psychology is that we need to go through intense quests and experiences, usually involving reliving our birth and then entering into a transcendental realm beyond the human realm. And when we go through this intense journey, we tend to shed the problems of our daily life and we get over them. So in the philosophy that I was raised in, there's not really it's not a matter of controlling our problems, for instance, an addiction. It's more about getting over it, and you get over it by living through these intense quests. Certainly there's a fair amount of medicine and psychology devoted to harm reduction. We can't always go on a quest. We don't necessarily have the people in our life who are holding our hand or forcing us onto the quest, and American culture isn't known for making the quest a pleasant experience or a normal experience. It's usually an abnormal experience at best. It's something that we're accustomed to doing in college, which is not necessarily the right time or the best time to, or the only time that we need to do it. So how do we control our addictive behaviors? We go on a quest. We get outside of our current life, out of our current pattern, and go have an intense experience.
Do you have any final words for the Palms Restaurant and the people of Wonder Valley?
My understanding is tonight you are on a very intense quest into an artistic experience that you might not want to experience twice, but I hope you're all having fun and you survive.
Thank you, AJ.